Imagine standing on an open plain at the end of the Ice Age, holding nothing but a wooden spear tipped with a sharpened stone. Now imagine that walking toward you is a woolly mammoth 3 or 4 times your height, weighing as much as several cars, armed with tusks longer than you are tall, and a body wrapped in thick hide and muscle. Every instinct screams that this is a creature to flee from, not to fight. And yet our ancestors did not flee. They hunted these giants and others like them, and they did it successfully enough to feed their families, build homes from the bones, and survive in some of the harshest environments on Earth. So how on earth did ancient humans, physically weak and slow compared to the great beasts around them, manage to hunt animals far bigger than themselves? The answer is a masterclass in intelligence, cooperation, and ingenuity, and it reveals the true weapon that made humans the most dangerous hunters the world had ever seen. Let us be clear about the challenge first, because it was immense. Humans are not built to be predators of giants. We have no claws, no fangs, no great strength, no armor, and we cannot outrun most large animals. Pound for pound, we are feeble compared to a mammoth, a giant bison, a cave bear, or a woolly rhino. If hunting was simply a contest of physical power, humans would lose every time. And this is the key to understanding how they succeeded. They did not win through strength, they won through everything else, through brains, planning, teamwork, and tools. The hunt of the giants was never really about muscle, it was about mind. The first and most important weapon was cooperation. No single human could bring down a mammoth alone. It was simply impossible. But a coordinated group of hunters working together with a shared plan was a completely different kind of predator. Anthropologists believe that ancient hunters operated in well-organized teams, each person playing a role in a larger strategy. Some hunters might drive or frighten an animal in a particular direction, while others waited in ambush. Some might distract the beast, while others moved in for the critical strike. This kind of coordinated group hunting multiplied the power of each individual many times over. A lone human is no threat to a mammoth. 10 humans with a plan are a deadly force. Cooperation transformed weak individuals into an overwhelming collective predator, and this ability to work together toward a common goal is one of the deepest secrets of human success. The second weapon was strategy, the clever use of the landscape itself as a tool. Rather than confronting a massive animal head-on in a fair fight, which would have been suicidal, ancient hunters learned to use terrain and trickery to tip the odds in their favor. One of the most dramatic techniques was the use of natural traps. Hunters would drive entire herds of animals toward a cliff edge, causing them to stampede and plunge to their deaths, a single successful drive yielding an enormous amount of meat. At sites in Europe, archaeologists have found the remains of vast numbers of animals at the bottom of cliffs, evidence of exactly this kind of mass hunting. Hunters also drove animals into bogs, marshes, and narrow ravines, where the beasts became stuck or trapped, robbed of their ability to run or fight effectively. They ambushed animals at river crossings and waterholes, striking when the prey was most vulnerable. The landscape became a weapon, and the hunter's knowledge of the land was as important as any spear. The third weapon was technology, the steady improvement of the tools of the hunt. The earliest weapons were simple thrusting spears used to stab at close and dangerous range. But over time, human ingenuity produced something far better. A major breakthrough was the spear thrower, sometimes known by the name atlatl. This was a clever device, essentially a lever arm that fitted onto the end of a light spear or dart, dramatically increasing the force and distance with which it could be thrown. With a spear thrower, a hunter could launch a projectile with far greater speed and power than the arm alone could produce, and crucially, could strike from a safer distance away from the deadly reach of tusks and hooves. This was a revolution in hunting, allowing humans to wound and kill large animals while reducing the risk to themselves. The stone points that tipped these weapons were themselves marvels of engineering. In North America, the famous Clovis hunters produced beautifully crafted, razor-sharp stone points with a distinctive shape, designed to be fixed firmly onto spears. Interestingly, recent research has suggested that some of these weapons may not have always been thrown at all. One intriguing study proposed that hunters could brace the butt of a pointed spear against the ground, angling the sharp tip upward so that a charging animal would impale itself on the planted weapon, its own momentum driving the point deep into its body, much like a modern hunting technique against dangerous game. Whether thrown, thrust, or planted, these sophisticated stone-tipped weapons gave humans the ability to pierce the thick hides of enormous animals and deliver fatal wounds. There was a fourth weapon, too, more subtle than the others, but perhaps the most uniquely human of all, and that was patience combined with knowledge. Ancient hunters were extraordinary naturalists. They knew the habits of their prey intimately, where the animals went to drink, how they behaved in different seasons, when they were vulnerable, how a herd would react when frightened. This deep knowledge allowed hunters to predict and manipulate animal behavior, to be in the right place at the right time, and to design hunts that played on the weaknesses of their prey. Some researchers also point to the possibility of persistence hunting in certain contexts, the uniquely human ability to track and pursue an animal over long distances, using our remarkable endurance and our capacity to keep cool while running until the prey was exhausted. Whether through endurance, ambush, or trap, the hunt was an intellectual achievement as much as a physical one, the product of a mind that could plan, predict, and outthink a stronger opponent. It is worth noting the courage that all of this required. Even with teamwork, strategy, and the best tools of the age, hunting a mammoth or a giant bison was extraordinarily dangerous. A cornered or wounded animal of that size could kill a human in an instant with a swing of its tusks or a single trampling step. The hunters who faced these giants did so knowing the risk, and some surely paid for it with their lives. There is a quiet heroism in that, in ordinary people facing down the largest and most dangerous creatures of their world, armed with little more than wood and stone and their own cleverness, because their families needed to eat. When you put it all together, the hunting of the giants reveals the essential truth about what makes humans formidable. We never were the strongest, the fastest, or the most heavily armed creatures in our environment. We were and are the cleverest, the most cooperative, and the most adaptable. Faced with prey that dwarfed them in size and strength, our ancestors did not despair, and they did not rely on brute force. They gathered in teams, they read the land, they invented better weapons, and they used their minds to turn their physical weakness into irrelevance. The mammoth had the size and the strength, the humans had the plan. And again, across the Ice Age world, it was the plan that won. The hunt of the giants is, in the end, the story of how intelligence and cooperation became the deadliest weapons on Earth, and how a slow, weak, clever ape became the most successful predator the planet had ever known.